It's 7:01 and I'd like to call our board meeting to order. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Robson, will you please call the roll?
Dr. DeMarco?
Here.
Mr. Eckenrode?
Here.
Mrs. Tomash?
Here.
Mrs. Walker?
Here.
And Mrs. Newton.
Here, please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job, guys. Good job, guys.
Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight, and welcome to our virtual audience. We're super excited to start our meeting tonight with our fabulous friends from the ECC. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Lloyd.
Thanks. And I'm not going to really waste any time at all, other than it's so great to see all of you. I heard you all say the pledge, too, so that was awesome. Ms. Spechtel, the way that this works, because I don't think that we've done one of these before since you've been here. I'm going to turn it over to you, and what you're going to do is sort of introduce your team and let us know kind of what we expect to hear. I have an idea, and I'm really excited. Whatever you want to do. In fact,
James, you give me that microphone.
Yep.
I probably could talk loud enough.
It's mostly for the home people.
Oh, gotcha.
Thank you. Well, we're super excited because this is, the first time since I've been here in Olmsted Falls that I've been able to bring our team to present to the board. The first year we shut down before our turn. We always choose May to give our itty bitty Bulldogs time to grow and get ready for their big day. And then last year we didn't have it. So I am excited to be here tonight with, I'll start over here. We have our school counselor, Andrea Hayes, and our kindergarten teacher, who's also with Andrea Hayes, the chair of our PBIS committee, Jennifer Pinzone, and our another kindergarten teacher, Chelsea Simpson, who also worked with us on our presentation for tonight. So we are going to, tonight we're excited to showcase the district's youngest Bulldogs, and we could spend the entire evening celebrating them because they have made so much growth and it's fun to just showcase them. But we thought it would be nice if tonight we shared some of the things we've been doing at the ECC, in particular with aligning our resources this year. So this year for us has been a big year of alignment, creating a common language, collaborating, and communicating better with all of our stakeholders. From our kinder council to our coffee with the principal and school counselor to our PTA events and meetings, we are working really hard to receive feedback from all of our stakeholders and to create a clear message for all. For tonight's ECC presentation, it was important for us to infuse all of our district's initiatives from the work we do with positive behavioral supports and interventions, which is what PBIS stands for, and the work we're doing with Step Up to Quality, which is our preschool state accountability system, and the work we do with Schlechte, Designing Engaging Work, and to our latest initiative, True Accountability. We are trying to take everything we're doing, streamline it, and make it easier for our stakeholders to understand. All of these initiatives are connected to student success, relationships, knowing our who, and they all begin with hope. So on that, I want to bring up Andrea Hayes, our school counselor, to tell you a little bit more about the work we've been doing with PBIS.
Hi, everyone. So a huge part of our learning at the ECC is our PBIS program. PBIS is a team-based process for systematic problem-solving, planning, and evaluation. It's an approach to creating a safe and productive learning environment where teachers can teach and students can learn. Each month, we focus on a word of the month to support our 4 core tenets, which are be safe, be responsible, be respectful, and be kind. In May, our word of the month is, does anybody know? Yeah. Yes, Good job. It's hopeful. We teach what does it mean to be hopeful and how can we find hope when life gets rough or when things change, like going to first grade, right? That's a big deal. So by instilling this idea of hope in our students, we are teaching resilience, which is a coping skill that they will take with them through life. Jen's going to talk a little bit more about how PBIS and the rest of our idea came together.
Good evening, everybody. Well, we realized our PBIS Word of the Month tied in perfectly with the district work we're doing on our district leadership team. We're working on our true accountability, which is a benefits-based system in which we really value and we want our stakeholders' input. And so our most important stakeholders are our students and their families. So our teachers went ahead and taught about what it means to be hopeful, and we had all the students in kindergarten write about their hopes and dreams for first grade. And we selected a few of those students, some are here tonight, and we selected some of their families, and we recruited Joe Kozar, who's fantastic, to come over and help us create a little presentation for you tonight. We were very thoughtful and mindful about the interviewees that we selected. It was important for us to pick a wide variety of all of our abilities and the different faces of our stakeholders, and we recognized through this process that our imperfection really leads to how unique we are and how we really are perfect at the ECC. So on behalf of the Early Childhood Center, I proudly present our hopes and dreams.
To be a productive member of society, and I hope that he continues to grow socially, learns how to advocate for himself in the right way. One of my biggest fears for Luke is that because he presents himself as quote unquote typical in so many ways that as he grows into adulthood that he won't always necessarily know the right way to interact with other people, and I've already seen such a big growth this year, so I just hope that continues. What do you want to happen in first grade? Do you want to make friends? Oh, Chuck E. Cheese, yes. You want Chuck E. Cheese? He wants Chuck E. Cheese. How do we earn Chuck E. Cheese trips? How do we earn Chuck E. Cheese trips? What do we have to do at school? Do we have to be good? Do we have to be good at school? Like not for other people's things? What do you have to do in school? Yes. You have to earn Chuck E. Cheese. How do you do that? You can tell me. Well, he told me in the car that he wanted to make friends. And that's sometimes been difficult for him. But he also, I think, just wants to feel welcome.
My hopes and dreams for Lucas is that he uses the most of his time here to be a well-rounded individual, that he learns to use the most of his talents to be successful in the future. We also want to make sure that he also learns to be kind, to respect others and to respect the things around him, so that he can be a successful individual in the future.
Level up reading, multiply and divide, and spend more time with friends.
My hopes and dreams for Alex are that he never loses his
Well, I hope that he grows up to be a productive member of society, and I hope that he continues to grow socially, learns how to advocate for himself in the right way. One of my biggest fears for Luke is that because he presents himself as quote-unquote typical in so many ways that as he grows into adulthood, that he won't always necessarily know the right way to interact with other people, and I've already seen such a big growth this year, so I just hope that continues. What do you want to have happen in first grade? Do you want to make friends? Oh, Chuck E. Cheese, yes. You want Chuck E. Cheese? He wants Chuck E. Cheese in first grade. How do we earn Chuck E. Cheese trips? How do we earn Chuck E. Cheese trips? What do we have to do at school? Do we have to be good? Do we have to be good at school? Like not throw other people's things? Hey, look at me. What do you have to do in school to be good? Yes. You have to earn Chuck E. Cheese. How do you do that? You can tell me. Well, he told me in the car that he wanted to make friends. And that's sometimes been difficult for him. But he also, I think, just wants to feel welcome.
My hopes and dreams for Lucas is that he uses the most of his time here to be a well-rounded individual, that he learns to use the most of his talents to be successful in the future. We also want to make sure that he also learns to be kind, to respect others, and to respect the things around him, so that he can be a successful individual in the future.
Oh, hold on, this is tricky. Level up for eating, multiply and divide, and spend more time with friends.
My hopes and dreams for Alex are that he never loses his kind and warm heart that he has. And honestly, my dreams for Alex are that he finds something that sets his soul on fire and he's just happy in life.
So my hopes and dreams are for first grade is for everybody to be nice and for no bullies and for no people to get hurt. And I hope that everybody be nice and so helpful for everybody. Bye, anyway, Bulldogs.
So my hopes and dreams for Sloan are that she continues to have such a positive school experience that she's had here at the ECC in kindergarten, and that her love of learning that's been instilled here at the ECC just continues to grow throughout all of her years of schooling and into life as well.
I hope that my teacher is as nice as Mrs. Clay, and I hope that I learn in new ways and I make a lot of new friends.
Oh, that's a really, I feel like it's a tough question, but I hope that she continues to be a kind and generous person. I love that she's involved in the school. She's involved in Kinder Council, and that helps her to be more of like a leader. She enjoys that she's a firstborn child, but yes, that she continues to be kind, that she cares about nature and our planet, which she seems to be very into that, and that she's just a well-rounded person that helps others. So.
I'm hoping I'll have new friends and rest time, and I'm also hoping I'll be able to read a little better.
Our hopes and dreams for Johnny, well, he loves school, he loves learning, so we're hopeful that that will continue, not just throughout his school lifetime, but his entire lifetime, that love for learning and wanting to learn. He also loves making new friends and being around his friends, so we're hopeful that he'll continue to make meaningful relationships, have lifelong friends, and also that he'll just feel independent and confident in whatever he chooses to do, and feels good about the qualities that make him Johnny.
Making new friends.
Making new friends.
Ride a new bus.
Ride a new bus.
To school.
Say it again.
Say to new school.
So I'm really hoping for Kayla to have a safe environment for her to grow up in, to be a part of a community in which she feels loved, and just an opportunity to learn without any real obstacles in her way.
Yes, our prayer for our kids from the beginning through preschool on has been that school would be a place where they can grow their brains and grow their hearts. And so as she goes into first grade, you know, we hope that she has the kids in her class that she needs to learn from, and then kids who need to learn from her. And we hope that she has a teacher who sees her spirit. She has such a beautiful spirit. And then even beyond that, we want to see Kayla being a bridge builder for people, building bridges between all types of people, and just growing in joy. She's so full of joy right now. So our hope is that she continues to grow in that.
To do biology and read a lot of books, learn about puppies, and I hope I get to go to the big library, and I hope that I can be like my brother and have a good teacher. I can read larger books and get smarter every day.
Anything else?
No.
Okay.
After we made our video with our parents, and thank you parents who came tonight, and for those who also, we just over the spring break, emailed parents and asked who would be available to pop in. They didn't really know exactly what we were doing, but they came anyways. We did say that we were preparing a presentation for the board, so we appreciate your time. But to carry on with the hopes and dreams for all of our students, because we like to usually send a writing sample to Falls Lenox, and we do something at the end of the year as part of our transition. This week, the teachers had all students write about their hopes and dreams, and we rolled them up and we put them in our hot air balloon that Chelsea made, and we're going to deliver it to the administrators over at Falls Lenox when they go for their transition day. So that concludes our presentation.
Bring the kids up. Would you guys come and introduce yourselves again?
Oh yes, I can, come on up guys so we can introduce you. Why don't you stand up by Miss Simpson and I'll say your names, okay? So,
Can they come right up here?
oh sure, yep.
Our friends that are watching.
And you can make a line, and when I call your name, you can raise your hand so they know it's you, okay? Kayla, go up. Alrighty. So first we have Alex. Alex, raise your hand. Alex is in Mrs. Michael's kindergarten class. Next we have Lucas. Lucas is a member of Mrs. Heinrich's kindergarten class. He wants to level up.
Yes.
And next we have Johnny Schultz. Johnny is in Mrs. McNeely's kindergarten class. And next to Johnny, we have Sloan. Sloan is in Mrs. Clay's kindergarten class. And finally, we have Kayla. Kayla is a member of Miss Doyle's kindergarten class, who wants to learn biology in first grade.
Yeah, that's great. Amazing. No.
And go to the big library. That was probably my favorite. The big library. Do you guys have any questions for our students?
What are you going to miss the most about ECC when you go to first grade? Go ahead.
Alex?
What I miss all the good learning.
Yeah.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
that's impressive. What are you going to miss?
What I'm going to miss all of the kids being nice, and I'm going to miss my teachers so much, and I'm going to miss learning a lot, and I can read real books now because of my teacher.
Because your teacher. That's awesome.
That's awesome. What do you guys? Do you guys want to say anything? Do you miss anything? Go ahead.
I'll miss my teacher.
Yeah.
I'll be first grader.
Well, I know that the first grade teachers, I know all of them. They're amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be a what?
Second grade.
A second grade?
Then third grade.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're gonna keep going, huh? That's right.
Just keeps going.
Slow it down.
That's what we want.
Yeah, ways to go.
What about
All
you?
the way to 20.
You're going to miss your teacher. Yeah, Miss Doyle. What are you going to miss? Your teacher too.
Well, yeah.
Well, you're going to love Falls Lenox because they have really great teachers too, but thank you guys so much for coming today.
Yeah, you were awesome.
Such a good job.
You were great. You know, Ms. Bechtel, thank you for, and Kim's probably going to take a picture for that. You know, as the board knows, one of the things that we've obviously been really working on is this whole idea of a benefits-based accountability system. And that starts, or has started, with the question that Dora had on the screen there. What are your hopes and dreams for your kids, or what, you know, do you hope or expect from your educational system? And when you hear those kinds of things, and again, I want to just say this, it's not that test scores don't matter, it's just that test scores aren't enough, and they don't provide enough evidence as far as what it is that you're doing, and certainly don't provide enough evidence as it relates to those things that you all said. We're not going to try to do poorly on tests, that certainly isn't our goal, but there are a lot of really, really important things that we need to make sure that our students get that will last with them for the rest of their lives. And so that was just, I'm going to if I could get a copy of that, I'm going to send that to John Tanner, who I'm certain will probably be getting in contact with you about that. It's just incredible.
We,
So I appreciate-
one last thing I wanted to share with you, that for the incoming kindergartners, they're registering right now. We have about 200 students registered for kindergarten, and we did something we've never done. We give each parent a survey, and it gives us background knowledge to help us, you guys remember that, helps us to create balanced classrooms. And this year we added that question at the bottom. It says, what are your hopes and dreams for your incoming kindergartner? And we were reading through them all, and not one said anything about like reading, or it was what you guys said. But I just think it's going to be really nice when teachers they get their class set of surveys to help them over summer with planning. And I think that it's going to be really nice for them to read each child's family member saying, you know, what they hope for their child. And we were really excited to read that part of the survey, so.
Yeah. And that question that we asked doesn't stop in kindergarten or first grade. That's a question that we're asking parents and students throughout the entire system, and we're going to get, you know, more and more formal with it. And this was the first awesome demonstration of how we've been able to gather that stuff. So I really appreciate your efforts with that. So thank you so much. Clap for you one more time.
Maybe get a picture with the kids in the balloon.
Yes, we will now.
Very nice to meet you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I know.
You guys come in front. Presentations and talk.
John, did it make you cry?
No. I was thinking Cynthia's original.
Oh my gosh.
It was,
tissue.
yeah. I used to say volunteer cleaning here at UBC, having a bad day.
I just want you guys, hey, I
agenda tonight, you'll see that there's the long list of supplementals and stipends. And all those supplemental stipends, those are renewals, so nothing new there. And it's just a reminder of all the great things Homestead Falls does. With the AAA mantra, and we truly live it, you know, that comes with a cost. And so that's there. Those supplemental stipends are for the staff, for those extra services that they provide, those extra experiences for kids. So those are good. This last month, and really all of late winter and spring, Keith and Lainey Welker had been working hard for casual labor recruiting. They had the summer job fair. Amy Calderon, Carlos Rivera up at the high school hosted that, and so that helped recruit. So on the board agenda tonight is that casual labor list, and he is confident that, you know, with all those, we'll have a full summer staff. So the last summer we were a little light, and the summer before that, because of COVID factors, we were extremely light. But the help and the support that they provide for a low cost helps continue to keep our buildings in good shape, continues to have us ready for the new school year, and rocking and rolling. So it's good that we had a good response from students. There's some young workers, and that might pose a little bit of challenge, but you know, teaching those good fundamental skills for universal employment will be one of the focuses for this summer. The next item is, last month there was that board approval of moving our ITC, our Information Technology Center, to Meta. And so last week we had the initial implementation meeting with Meta, where we got to meet all their team members, they got to meet us, and it was really a good kickoff. They reviewed all the different services that they offer. They offer a wide and deep amount of services, and so we're looking forward to making that conversion these next couple of months. By July 1st, we'll be fully integrated over with Meta. And so, you know, as I talk to different team members on our side, you know, Kenny Seawright, he does the master schedule at the high school. He is like the guru of that. And you know, after a couple of meetings he's had with their schedule assisters, he said, look, James, at first I was a little nervous, but after these meetings I'm very excited, because they have a lot of structures in place to help support the work at the building level, and they want to ensure our success. And they do that for a low, good cost. So good all around. And tonight, on tonight's board agenda, you'll see that there's a contract for Power School Group. So Power School is the platform that we use for Gradebook, but it's also multiple other platforms. So our eFinance Plus system for finance and human resources is a Power School product. On that Power School Group contract for this is sort of the next step in that implementation of EFP. So this product will offer the application tracking system, which then rolls into the EFP system. So right now we have two separate silos. People fill out their application, they get hired, and then either that person or someone on our side, or one of our employees, is hand keying in all their information. Name, date of birth, social security, all that, which every keystroke is risk for error. So with this new platform, it'll take their application information and just roll it into our payroll system. We review and accept. And then also with that is an electronic employee database system. So right now we have all the file cabinets and all that paper. That'll be converted to digital, and then moving forward, all records will be digital, which will increase efficiency, reduce risk and error, but also create availability for employees. So the employees will have ability to log in and see whatever documents they want to see. So what transcripts have I turned in? They can go look, they can see it. So it's really the next step of this conversion from state software to EFP to the finance program. And I know there was we had a little bit of debate about, with some change in leadership, is now the right time. When we went back to the team, Holly, Shar, Tim Wolfu, and Debbie and Lane, we're like, yeah, this is the time. We've got to do this now so that we can, continue to move forward. And the new person that comes in, they better be tech savvy, because that's a big key component, and they will be. And so they'll be able to be on that implementation work and make sure it's successful.
And I think whoever that person is really going to be appreciative of the fact that that's one less thing they're going to have to worry about moving towards. That is a 21st century feature. And why doesn't a district of this size, why wouldn't we have a system like that in place? It's a great move.
So they'll be coming in right at the time of implementation. So they'll be learning it with everybody else, but they won't have to learn the old system just to forget it. So it's a good time for them. So that's what I have for tonight.
On the stipends, how are the stipend amounts set? Are they fixed, and how often are they reviewed? And if any one of these people wasn't fulfilling one of these roles and we needed to find somebody else to do it, would that person receive the same exact amount because it's fixed?
Yeah, so there's two types of contracts. There's supplementals and there's stipends. Stipends are a fixed dollar amount. And so whether you've done it your first year or you've done it your 20th year, it's that fixed dollar amount. And that's set by the collective bargaining agreement. So each time we negotiate, theoretically, we could look to make adjustments to those.
Okay.
But those are the rates that have been there for the last, I would say, 3 to 4 negotiation cycles, so 12 years. For supplementals, there is some growth with that as experience comes. Supplementals are mostly your coaches, and your arts, where they're equivalent to like the capacity of a coach. There used to be other ones, but through negotiations, we moved those over to stipends. But the supplementals, years 1 through 3, you're at a certain amount, and then 4 through 8, it increases and increases. And those values are tied back to the base rate. So as the negotiations go, and if there's a base rate increase, that would also increase the supplementals. Stipends would not change. But we negotiated last spring 3 years of no base increase, 2 previous to that, so it's been 5 years. It'll end up being 5 years of the same rates for all those.
And then how are those positions? So if 2 different teachers want to be the chess club coordinator, how does that?
Yeah, so we post.
Check out.
Yeah, so we post all the contract names. We post them, and then teachers apply, and we interview and select the most qualified candidate. Sometimes teachers.
The central office does?
The building principal.
I thought you were going to say they have a chess match and.
Yeah, whoever's the better.
Believe me, nobody's arm wrestling
That's
over
an easy
chess.
one. That was an easy one.
Yeah, Don Speck was the chess club coordinator, I think, at one particular point. It comes at a cost, and it's $750,000. I think if you were going to add up all of those different things, it's a lot of money, and it's one of the reasons why the district needs to consider whether or not there's going to be some sort of pay to participate fee associated with some of these things, and balance that with the idea of, well, we're about academics, arts, and athletics. That comes at a cost. What do other people do, and how might we be able to balance some of those things? And I know there's some deliberation about that, and ultimately the board's going to have to weigh in on what that might be. Everything, when I first came into this district 14 years ago, everything was a supplemental. Just about everything was a supplemental, and what we've been able to do is to work with our Teachers Association and really kind of peel some of that stuff off and say that some of these things, by doing them for 3 years doesn't make you, that much wiser and offer that much more quality that you should get, an increase. It's just really a flat rate for things. And so they've been very, cooperative, or for lack of a better word, of understanding that. From Brett's standpoint, I'll speak for you for a second, is it's easier to budget things like stipends as opposed to supplementals. You could always anticipate it, but one is really a kind of a fixed cost that's going to stay there as opposed to another one that is a little bit more squirrely.
So just, and this is just more for me to understand the schedule, there's letter codes that were in the schedule, which I'm sure has something to do with years
To the
of
collective
service.
bargaining agreement, that goes back to the collective bargaining, what group they're in.
Yeah,
And
okay.
kind of like what step they're on.
And then there were some lines that just had AUX.
Yeah, so auxiliary staff, so we have community members or college
Okay.
kids who want to volunteer, and so we get the board approval.
Okay.
They get issued a contract. If
I
they're a
understand
coach, they still have to do all the coaching requirements of a PAP and Lindsay Law and all that. That just confirms that they're an official coaching capacity without pay, and it also gives them liability protection. If they
Okay.
get injured on the
Okay.
field and whatnot, so that's
Thank you.
How do we evaluate those positions? I mean, how do we know that, let me use my husband as an example. How do we know that Damon DeMarco is doing a good job as a coach? Is he,
AD.
okay.
The athletic director would be the person in charge of evaluating. And
So the head coaches evaluate the assistant coaches and give them feedback, and then the athletic director evaluates the head coach. And then on the art side, it'd be the head principal that builds, mostly Mark and Leo, evaluate those arts programs and give them feedback and tell them where improvement is.
Okay.
And they don't change often, it seems. The personnel, who's ever run an XYZ program, usually does it for a while. I mean, I know we've had turnover in coaches.
We have not had, since I've been here, any coups or anything like that of
Yeah, yeah.
anybody. We've had certainly some, unfortunately, revolving door positions of
Yeah.
soccer coaches and things like that that tend to be a little more difficult to fill. There's certain positions that people aren't beating on the door to be part of. They're more difficult, but.
There's some that coach for a while, and then they start a family, and they get busy with their own kids, and then at some point they
Come back in.
circle back in. So again, we have people who are passionate about working with kids in multiple capacities, not just the classroom. And so those are good things to have.
And our goal is to try and fill those positions with a staff member working in the schools right now.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely better to have, it's better to have someone on staff that's fulfilling those. It just makes communication a lot easier. They have access to students, our administrators have access to them, and they understand the culture a lot better than an outsider. Not to say outside coaches are, lesser, but yeah, we try to recruit our own first, and then we go.
They come with teachers generally come with a certain disposition that this is the field that they've chosen, and somebody who teaches or coaches, in an AAU kind of capacity is a little bit different than somebody that might coach in another capacity, who is a teacher.
Is their contract, when Holly's referring to, is that part of the collective bargaining, that they get like right of first refusal, or no? Could you have a position where you just go outside?
It generally happens whenever the position is vacated, and then it's open and up for grabs, and then there will be people who, of the assistant rank, who are interested in that position, and then there will be people from the outside who are interested in that position, and it's not always the person who's on the inside
Okay, so
gets the position. It's happened.
There's not really contract language that's forcing us.
I don't believe that there's contract language. There's kind of just an understanding of, like Chris Delisio is going to be the basketball coach next year.
Yeah.
We're not going to go and, do that like every year and look for a new basketball coach. But if there was an example of the athletic director for a head coaching position where there were some issues, significant issues, and we felt the need to remove and replace that, then we would be able to do that. We try to work with obviously our coaches and our assistants and our supervisors to make certain that there's not a coup and there's not a, we're going to take you out of that position and put somebody else in. And we've had good success with that, I think, by and large.
Consistency's good.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Dr. Tampman?
Thank you.
No, that's helpful.
Thank you.
There's so many of these that you
Yeah.
There's
Well, it was,
They're all great.
yeah, it was actually good to look at it. You have no idea how much extra, like how much
We
more
added up.
contact students have with staff than just the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very evident in that schedule.
Right, well,
Yeah.
it's the AAA. and
Yeah,
this is what-
exactly,
this
and
is
it
what
was
is,
very
yeah.
well shown in that schedule.
They always have ideas to add others, which is good. I mean, and we, we've worked through those things, James and I, with the principals and the person who's requesting those. And it's good. I mean, it's good to have things for kids. It just comes at a cost, so.
Thanks very much, Dr. Tapman. Mrs. Cogan?
So on the board agenda for tonight, you will see the handbooks for the next school year. Just to point out, the two things that you'll see in both the high school and the middle school is an update to the Title IX language, where we've added some information in there. So you will see that in the middle school and the high school. You won't see that in the other three, but you will see that in those two handbooks. The other thing that you will also see in there that because these are electronic versions, which is great, you will still see under Title IX, Dr. Tapman's name is one of the coordinators. So once his position is filled, we will change that information within the handbooks to reflect the new person. So, which is great that we don't have to like print these and send out 300 copies and have a certain
Change
deadline
it.
in order to do that, so that's helpful. So just if you have any questions on that, let me know. Sure. Also, just an update on summer school. An email went out to all staff prior to spring break. As you know, we still have some ESSER funds that are earmarked for some summer school programming. We sent out the email asking for teachers who were interested in either teaching the summer school, which is kind of a traditional intervention program for K through 5. And then also, as you remember, we did those summer learning experiences last year. So we also put that out as well. Staff have until Saturday was the date to kind of let us know so we can start planning for that and communicate with families. I'm not sure that we're going to have the amount of staff that we would want to run either of those programs. I know our Bulldog Boost program that happens at the kindergarten level, which has always happened for years, they've always done that. Those are for incoming kindergarten students who they're already noticing through some of their assessments that might need a little bit of a boost before they start kindergarten. So Dora has already secured some teachers to do that program. And so that kind of then providing an intervention program for the current kindergarten students going into first grade, she doesn't really have the staff to do both. And we have, so total we have 4 teachers K-5 that have said they would be willing to do a program in August. And we have 2 submissions for the summer learning experiences. One is the AP boot camp at the high school that Dr. Mercer runs, so he would like to do that again. And the other one is that environmental education programming that Steve Catherine ran last summer. So we'll see what we get, and then we'll determine, if it's something that we're going to do. Dr. Lloyd and I have had a conversation about, while those funds are earmarked, there's nothing to say that we can't then use those funds to continue and extend our in-school intervention programs. So we can use that money then to say, well, we didn't offer it in the summer. The students have now started. We have MAPS data in their fall year. Teachers have kind of gotten to know them, done their own assessments. We could start an intervention program for K-5, within like the first week of October and run 4 or 5 sessions instead of what we ran this year, which was 3 sessions. So we might just be able to start it sooner and capture some kids during the school year. So we'll see how that pans out, but I'll keep you posted on that.
Would that be our focus, like K through 5?
Yeah.
Because I know that there were other high school programs offered,
Yes.
in.
For the summer learning experiences, yeah. I mean, hopefully we'll have some more of those come out for the summer. It always gets a little bit tricky to do after-school programming at middle and high school because all of a sudden they start with athletics and clubs and things that they're doing that then are kind of pulling them away from being able to participate in those things. Leo Spagnola then, kind of had a conversation with us, well, what could we do during the school day? Like, could we have, what are some things that we might be able to provide supports for resources for them to target kids during the school day who may have study halls that could become an intervention study hall. We do have our labs, our math lab, our science lab, and our writing lab. So we kind of have those already set up for students. So I talked with Leo and said, maybe that's something we reach out to other SWC districts or other districts and say, hey, how are you creatively dealing with students who are struggling academically? That's different, right, than just maybe a lab. Maybe there's something that they're doing that is unique. So we're going to look into that.
More to come, right?
Yeah, more to come.
Sounds good. Any questions for Mrs. Cogan? Mr. Robson?
So with the regular meeting being moved up to the fourth day of the month, we've just closed April. So I don't have that, that nice pretty analysis for you, but month-end reports are in board docs there. What I can tell you is revenues came in higher than anticipated for the month of April, and expenditures were slightly less than what we anticipated for April, which has been our trend of late. So we remain ahead of plan. Revenues are higher, largely attributed to homestead and rollback and the manufactured housing collections, and that follows along with our real estate collections being higher, slightly higher than anticipated as well. So we did, when those are higher, your rollbacks and reimbursements are higher too. So that's a good thing. And expenditures slightly under plan, and that remains largely because of salaries coming under plan. I did adjust in the forecast salaries down a little bit. I didn't want to get too aggressive on that because we have some severance payouts and some, perfect attendance and those kind of things that we like to take in the fiscal year in which they're occurred. So I know I've got, a larger June than a normal month. So I think I dropped it down a couple $100,000 from what we originally planned, but I did hold a little bit of that back too, but I did adjust that. So it's good, through April. Through April we're good, and I don't anticipate any surprises for the remaining 2 months. On the audit side, I did hear back from our audit manager, they got this blanket extension still for fiscal year 21 through October. We were like 98% complete, we thought, on their end, and they put us on hold. They got pulled out for a special audit. I don't know with who or for what, but she sent me a note at the end of last week and said, we're back, we'll be wrapped up soon. That was the message she sent us back in February as well. So we'll see how that goes, but we expect that to be done soon. Capital improvements, we've got on the 16th, I believe it is, Monday, with Bob France from Stiefel and Ryan Callender from Squire. I talked to him last Friday, and then Jim and I talked to him again yesterday. They're going to come and speak to us about options, levies versus lease purchase versus COPS. And again, not to say one is better than the other, but what options do we have available to us? And Cynthia, I was thinking afterwards, maybe we have the Finance Committee come to that too, just to hear what those options are.
That is a great idea.
Yeah. So I'll reach out to them too and let them know that we're going to meet on the 16th, and we'll have that session.
It'd be good for the rest of the board to see who these members are and vice versa. So I think it's a great idea.
Okay, we'll reach out to them. Insurance premiums, we've been talking, and we did get that final notice, so we are at 14%. That was the other, I'm going to say, probably the biggest adjustment we had on the forecast for starting in fiscal year 23. So we got the 14% there. I put a 10% in for 24, and then where I had 7.25%, 7.5% in remaining years, I bumped that up to 8%. We're really battling two fronts. One was the premiums we were collecting this year wasn't enough to cover the monthly expenses, and we were chipping away at that reserve, and our reserve balance was down significantly. So we have to cover monthly expenses, one, and we have to build that reserve up, two. We didn't want to go 17.5% or 20% and try to get it back all at once. So we agreed on a 14. Let's see where that puts us for next year. And we really, truly believe that what we saw this year and a bit of last year was this pent-up demand in procedures that were, I'm not going to call them elective procedures, but not emergency procedures that were just kind of put on hold, keep us out of the hospital, keep those beds open for true emergencies during the COVID pandemic. Now that things have kind of settled down, now the surgeons and doctors are having us come in and get these things taken care of. Do we know how much longer that's going to last or how long that's going to continue? No. We think it's going to slow down here soon. And we hope next year is going to show us that year or provide us with that year where we start to catch up and build that up a little bit. We'll see how that goes. So you'll see that in the forecast when we talk about that here in a bit. Good news, catastrophic cost reimbursement. Each year, we get the opportunity to apply to the state to help. They call it a reimbursement, but we get like 26% of the total costs that we apply for. For those costs that we spend, those dollars we spend on special needs students above a threshold. So based on the special needs category that a particular student has, we can apply for those costs. And there's a pool of money that the state has available. And they wait until every district applies, how much did you apply for, and then they just divvy those dollars up based on how much each district applied for. And we usually get 24, 25, 26% of what it was. Last year we applied for $1.3 million. We got about $350,000 back. This year we applied for a little over that. And with the new school funding plan and the budget that's in place, what they're telling us is they doubled the size of that pool. And the expectation is then we should get double the amount of dollars back, assuming you apply for the same amount of dollars that you applied for last year and everybody else applies for those same amount of dollars. So theoretically, we expect $710,000 in that range to come back. That's our expectation. Now, what's the reality? It remains to be seen. One of the things I'll tell you is a lot of districts don't have the resources, the human resources, dedicated to this process that we do. We are so fortunate that we have Tim Wolfhoop, who is the EMIS data guru that he is, and he's able to go in, identify, pull in these students based on the categories that they are, create this worksheet that we're able to upload into the system, and work hand in hand with Pam Manis, who, I don't know, she keeps these impeccable records.
She knows every kid.
She knows every kid.
She's been here for a while.
Yeah. And she knows these kids by ID number, not by name. She can look at the ID number and say, that's Joe Smith. Wow. And she says, yeah, and I know Joe, and Joe goes to this program, and he's a high-cost kid, and he's got this, and she'll look through there, and it's like, we're missing Bobby, and Tim will go back through, yep, here's Bobby, we missed him. But anyway, through their efforts, it is truly through their efforts that we're able to claim these costs, and without them, we would be hurting. Firsthand, I will tell you, many, many districts out there will only submit those handful of students that they know are either outplaced at a PEP, or
and alternatives or some sort of
program,
out of district placement. Yeah.
Or they're a resident student with a full-time aide assigned to them or something like that, or the school for the deaf. But, we're able to apply for every kid that has any type of service. I don't care if we're $5,000 over the threshold, we're applying to get reimbursed on those $5,000 or the $80,000. It doesn't matter. That's how we're claiming $1.3 million on that. So many thanks to those two and all others that may have a hand in that piece. But I have to mention them. The 5-year forecast, we see that on the agenda coming up, and we made some of those adjustments to there. You'll see that the fiscal year 22 ending cash balance, we're going to exceed our November expectation by roughly $400,000. Fiscal year 23, about $200,000. 24, relatively unchanged. 25 and 26, you'll start seeing the cumulative effects of the increase in insurance changes, and then the additional support of the general fund for some of the capital improvement projects that we have going on, such as bus leases and small equipment purchases. However, through the end of '26, you'll see that we still have a projected cash balance in excess of $7 million. Keep in mind, though, that those 2 years, that's a lot of things can happen, including 2 state biennial budgets that roll the dice, flip a coin. We'll see where we're at come that time. Any questions?
Any questions? All right.
Nice to see a healthy forecast.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Nice to see a healthy forecast.
It is,
I mean,
and
really.
all the effort from again, everybody that, from 2-3 years back, things that were done in advance of that help. Staffing changes, levies, it all comes into play today. So.
Okay, we'll move on. Dr. Lloyd?
I don't really have a whole lot. Just wanted to mention that we had our professional development day yesterday, and half the day we were together as a full staff of 230, 240 people in the auditorium. Really provided us with an opportunity to try to first to get together, which we hadn't really done in this kind of way in a while. But just to try to bring a sense of coherence to the work that we're doing, and we come here and we talk to you guys, and you heard a lot about it tonight, of positive behavior intervention supports and portrait of a graduate work and benefits-based accountability system and all these different sorts of things that are kind of going on. And so what I tried to do, and both Holly and Kelly were able to make that and see that kind of like that presentation. Was to say that everything that we do and set by our directional system of inspiring and empowering kids. And I think, I don't know how many times, if we created like a bingo card or some sort of tally mark of how many times inspire and empower was mentioned on that particular day, it was quite a few. And it wasn't just by me, but it started with me really saying that in 2013, whenever we created that we didn't really know how to measure that, and we're still kind of going on that quest right now. But inspire and empower drives everything that we do. And one of the things that I had mentioned was how it impacts our benefits-based accountability system. When the Ohio Legislative Group puts out a particular piece of legislation, and there are quite a few educational bills that are out there right now, I asked the question of, will that help us achieve our mission or vision of inspiring and empowering? Will it hurt it or impede it, or will it not have any impact at all? And when it has an impact, and it's a negative impact, then I think I have a duty to come out and speak against it. And so generally, May has been our focus on mental health and student mental health. We focused on student well-being and the idea of being respectful and being kind. And I think whenever you have bills like House Bill 616, which has in it just ludicrous and absurd things like kindergarten through third grade sexual education, like that doesn't happen. I mean, those things don't happen. I've talked to a couple different people just via email and said, look, go talk to a first grade teacher. You want to know what the curriculum is in health. You could get the curriculum, and it's not those things. So I think it's offensive, quite honestly, when somebody puts forth things like that and says that that is what public school teachers are teaching. It makes all of us look bad when those things aren't happening. Then there's other things that are in it as well that are going to cost a lot of money, as far as a review system and an appeal system, along with, quite honestly, in my opinion, it gets down to basic American fundamental kinds of things like, freedom of speech and being able to kind of to have classroom discourse where there are opinions within the context of a classroom, and you're able to debate those opinions and beliefs. I mean, those are the things that make us great, I think, as a country. And teachers don't let those things go off into the ditch. And they certainly, if they are going to opine on anything, we've had some of our high school social studies teachers here, they will tell you, this is my opinion, and this is what the other opinion would happen to be on this particular issue. And the board has a policy, as you know, that has been put into place as it relates to controversial issues. So this whole idea of language related to divisive kinds of things, to me, is just, it's silly. And I think that it's driving people who I think believe in public schools to kind of like to the polls, and I don't think, and not to the polls where they're going to go and vote, although they might do that too, based on how things kind of go, but just not such good places, and it's nonsense. And so I talked about that, and then we had Dr. James Knight come and provide his message to us on cultural humility, and you know, that some have tried to spin that in a particular way, but he reviewed really the concepts of being humble, becoming self-aware, understanding, and being able to develop understanding of other people, and how important that is for students, and how important that is for adults, I think, to be able to like debate and have a conversation and recognize that we disagree with one another, but that doesn't mean that I hate you, that we can disagree and we can still go out and be okay with one another, that it's important to learn from other people, and it's important to model and advocate for people as well. And so that was his message, was really a message of thinking of yourself less and thinking of others and kind of where they are, and really that idea of servant kind of leadership. And then Anissa was our closer, and she came in and absolutely did a tremendous job of saying things to really add that extra level and layer of coherence around all the work that we've done. So I think it was one of the best, and I've heard a lot of feedback from staff, and staff generally are pretty critical on professional development days because they don't want their time wasted. Really what teachers generally want, and administrators too, is let me be in my classroom and leave me alone because I get a day to actually catch my breath and catch up on things. But they were engaged. After that kind of main presentation, they went into the high school cafeteria area where Kelly had this great logistical kind of like sorting system where we had 220 people, and within a matter of, I think, like 5 to 8 minutes, sorted them into 22 tables of 10 that were cross building groups, because we didn't want all the high school people to sit to with one another. And we gave them scenarios of different kids who they might see in their particular class, and gave a sort of a vignette of what a teacher might do with a particular lesson, and then based on the student's experience, why that vignette or the way in which that design of instruction didn't necessarily work. And some of it was culturally based, some of it was based on race, some of it was based on socioeconomic status. I mean, the idea is you got to get to know your kids within the context of your classroom, because one size doesn't fit all. Some kids need a little more love, and some want you to not bother them, you know what I mean? And not everybody needs you to be in their face all the time. So I think it was a good opportunity for our teachers to get together and with these kind of scenarios go through some real life sorts of examples that happen in a safe environment, and they reported out, and the feedback that I got was extremely positive from everybody. So I thought it was a good day, and I guess I'll defer to both you, Mrs. Newman and Mrs. Walker, if you guys want to add anything on to what I said. That's what I wanted to share.
I really, Anissa was from Schlechte, was really powerful and dynamic in her presentation. I mean, the fun part was, like, she said, okay, everyone get your phones out, and then we had to click on a QR code, which was amazing, and that was fun. And then, you typed in your answer, and then they just started scrolling on the screen, and she was reading them, and that was really cool. But I think some of the really most powerful things that she kept saying over and over again is that Olmsted Falls is doing you. You're not doing Schlechte, you're doing you. And you're doing you every day. And the things that you talk about in inspiring and empowering, our students and our staff and our community, you choose to do that every day. And it's a good choice, right? And but it's a choice, and you know, she just kept emphasizing that that's just how you do it. And that's how you'll always do it. And it was reaffirming, and I think made people, at least it made me feel like, right, yes, I'm glad that we're doing this. So I thought she was really, Dr. Knight was also very inspiring as well. But Anissa has been with us for a while, and she keeps coming back, and she's starting to really to get to know us, and we know her, and people feel comfortable with her, and she's a friendly face, and it's good for us. I'm glad that we have a very good relationship with her.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us to.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Even just for me, that was the first time I'd been anywhere where like the entire teaching staff was in one room. And I thought that for me was a little shocking at first. Like I've never seen it all in one room.
It happens like 3 times a year. Right?
Yeah,
Really,
it was.
it's like that time in May, at the end of the year and the beginning of the year.
It was good to see. I mean, to gain an appreciation of all the work that happens in this district for me. And that was the first thing when I walked in the building, and I took a step back, like, God, they're all in one room. But thank you for the invitation. I thought Dr. Knight, I thought his presentation was a good presentation. I thought he did, and I felt a lot of what he talked about is on that wall over there, like the be safe, be like.
Yeah, it's be respectful and be kind, and I know there's this narrative that some people think that, you know, people of a, you know, particular skin color are gonna be made to feel bad about things, and it's not that at all. It's listening and learning from one another.
It was, yeah, taking the time to listen, taking the time to understand each other, and then we'll collaborate better. Because, I felt like it was really a lot of what we talk about in the district anyway.
Yeah, it wasn't, I mean, if we were gonna, you know, shoot off in a different direction, people don't want that. They want us to stay focused and stay coherent. And I felt we had a high degree of focus and coherence. And our staff, I think, you know, Leo said it was like during his, because then they went back to their buildings and then they kind of talked about what happened during the morning. And they all had really rich conversations. And he's like, I think people, like, it was like the shade was open finally and light came through and people were like, oh, okay. I see how these things all sort of fit together. And that's what you hope for. Otherwise, they're just going to see it as a bunch of hurdles that they're jumping or unconnected initiatives. But it's how we do business.
And that's what you got from Anissa, right? Like what Dr. Knight said, and then she culminated it all with, this is just what we do, and you keep doing you, and it'll all be good. Yeah, it was good. It was a fun morning.
That's good.
Yeah. Great. Okay, I don't think we have anybody who wants to address us tonight. So we will go on. Is there anything else that we want to say in regard to the forecast, or are we moving on? I just want to be clear on that.
Do you want, would you like me to run through the forecast, or if?
Well, I don't know what the board was anticipating. If you want Brett to put it up on the screen and hit some high points to it, we can. Or if you're prepared to vote on it, we can move on.
I'm prepared to vote.
I reviewed it.
Yeah, I'm prepared to vote based on Brett sending it out on Friday. So you really pulled that together quickly.
He did, didn't he? I know.
Super impressed.
That door's shut and I'm like, oh man, he's in there. He's like,
I lost 3 days of sleep preparing this presentation. No.
Yeah, no, so thank you for
worked
the
hard.
advance review of that.
And just a quick comment on it, you know, a lot of the effort really goes into the November forecast. That's the May is an update, and I think our November forecast was solid. I'm gonna say both on the expense and revenue side, 99.8%. You know, we made some minor adjustments on real estate because collections were a little bit higher than what we anticipated, and the same on the expense side because our salaries were just a little bit different than what we thought. So overall, you know, we were real pleased.
well, and I would imagine, I think some board members remember when that used to swing here and there. And then, you know, with the shock comes in and you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
So yeah, that level of accuracy, I can tell you from my seat, is really well appreciated, for sure.
You know, if I had one disappointment, it was really just in the insurance rates.
Sure.
Yep.
Which,
Yep.
they are what they are. I mean, that was that.
And so I can't remember, is this, once we approve the forecast and we submit, is that something that we put like on our website, like in your area of treasurer, you know, if someone.
We've
wanted-
dropped it in there. Yeah, Kim's nodding her
It's
head.
once or twice a year stuff.
If
So
we,
do.
you know,
There's a
just
link-
in
there's a
case
link on the
anybody
website.
from the community wants to look at our 5-year forecast, I mean, it's a public document, so I think it should be there, once it's approved and updated.
It is also on the Ohio Department of Education's website as well. So all school districts are, as are historical publications.
I mean, it is a little hard to understand, obviously, it just, school finance, right? It is difficult, but we've got smart community members, you know, so they'll figure it out. Okay, so, great. I just wanted to offer that up if anybody wanted any more detail on that. Alrighty then, I will move on to the consent agenda. I'll accept a motion for the approval of consent agenda items listed in categories 5 through 7.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion from the board on consent agenda items in categories 5 through 7? Okay, Mr. Robson, will you please call the roll?
Dr. DeMarco?
Yes.
Mr. Eckenrode?
Yes.
Mrs. Tomasz?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
And Mrs. Newman?
Yes, motion carries. Alrighty, then we are voting separate on 9A is on the supplementals. We need to accept a motion for the supplemental contracts.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the supplementals?
I'm sorry, who, the motion was?
Cynthia? Any discussion from the board? You can call the roll when you're ready, Mr. Robson.
Dr. DeMarco?
Abstain.
Mr. Eckenrode?
Yes.
Mrs. Tomasz?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
And Mrs. Newman?
Yes. Okay, so our next meeting is, again, different than what normally it is. So it's Monday, May 16th. That'll be a work session, and we'll discuss all things finance. Is there any other general board discussion at this time?
Is it in there?
What's that?
Ohio House Bill 290, the voucher backpack bill.
Oh, yeah, we were going to talk about, yes.
Because I was going through the agenda, I was like, oh, and so I dropped it in there
I didn't see it.
for you. It's
Oh,
under
yeah, it's
admin
in there.
content.
Right. So we did sort of say we were going to talk about the, so remind the board, we saw the video last time,
Talk to Bill Phyllis.
talked to Bill Phyllis. Remind us, can
So
anyone
the question,
remember?
I guess for me as the superintendent to the board would be, you have this, this voucher bill that has been proposed. You have a constitutional amendment that says that the state must provide a thorough and efficient education, and it must be for public schools. Then what you have over the course of the last several decades is something that's a little bit different. More recently, over the course of the last 10 years or so, you've had subsystems pop up, and now what you have is a group of elected officials who've put forth a bill that says that it's okay for Olmsted Falls Schools, who is a public school, to only receive $3,600 from the state of Ohio. And anybody, regardless of income or anything else, if they wanted to go to a K-8 institution, they would get $5,500. And if they wanted to go to high school, they would get $7,500, is I believe what the amount is. And my thought is you have one pot of money, and they're not going in, and I don't think that they necessarily should go into the rainy day fund and just start throwing money around everywhere. We got too much of that stuff going on to begin with, in my opinion. But what they ought to do is to do what the Constitution says to begin with and fund the system. And they have this new school funding formula that only has a 2-year arm on it, right? It's only in this last biennium that it was approved.
Correct.
We don't know where it's going.
And they're only funding 16%.
That's exactly right. So I don't know why, whenever that hasn't been fixed yet, that you're creating subsystems other than you're trying to assassinate public schools. And that's kind of an overzealous response. But I think that this is, not a bad thing. That this is a bad thing. And I think that as a school district, we ought to come out. I've come out publicly and said that it's a bad thing. My question to the board is there any interest from the board to sign on to the lawsuit that's there and take a more public stance? You're going to put forth resources. I would say that my advice to you would be to not do this unless it's a 5 unified kind of stance. I don't think that you don't have to decide anything today, but that was what the discussion was going to be.
And the resources, as I remember, was about $7,000
It's about
a year, right?
$7,000.
$2 a student.
Yep.
I think is the.
That's about what it is. And what we're paying currently right now to the coalition for, it really brought the Rolfe case to begin with, like $1,700, and we were part of that a long time ago whenever Dr. Kreiner was here as the superintendent. So we've been part of that organization for a while. Boards are permitted to put forth district resources to advocate for public school interest. You're permitted to do that, and so this is that sort of thing. There is, a particular political party that's bringing that out. I don't necessarily think, for me, it has anything to do with politics. It's just bad policy and bad legislation, and it impacts our core business. So that's my only thought.
So in the past, the board has, passed resolutions, advocating for fair testing or different testing measures and things like that. So, we have in the past advocated for public schools and what happens in public schools. So, for me, as one board member, it seems like a no-brainer that we would support this as well. It seems good sense. We sit on a board of public school, and we should advocate for the success of public schools. And if this is one step to ensure the success, then it's something that I feel would be a good use of what we would want to do.
I mean, I agree that I almost feel responsible to the taxpayers of our district that we should at the very least have a board resolution that we're against the backpack bill. The lawsuit, I guess, puts us into a more political arena, I think. But, if push came to shove, I think that I have a we're about to make a decision on when we're going to go back on the ballot. And I think that for me, to be able to go back and ask the taxpayers of our districts again that we need more money, I think I also have to say, hey, I'm fighting something that's going to take money away from the district. I feel almost a responsibility to the taxpayers about that. Personally, that's just my personal opinion, as someone who's run levies before. So, and I would say at a bare minimum, I would like to say that we should consider proposing a resolution that we do not favor this House bill. And I'm open to joining a lawsuit, I guess.
I think substantively on the resolution, 100% agree. I think it's ridiculous. For me, I don't see a return on the investment. I know in the grand scheme of things, $7,000 a year is nothing compared to what we do, but every dollar matters, and us being the 97th signatory on a lawsuit doesn't put us in any better position than if we don't sign it. And I know that makes us, just be a free rider for the other people that have already paid the law firm and the advocacy group to do the work. But, you see the list of names of the districts that are on that list, and it's pretty clear why a lot of those names are on there. And we're in a very privileged position to probably not have to sign that. And for me, I'm all for substantively opposing it. I mean, that's no question. But to pay $7,000 a year just to say we signed on to a lawsuit, that doesn't do us any better than just saying we oppose it, in my opinion.
That's good. That's what we need to hear.
I agree with Phil. And I was trying to wrap my head around or walk myself through a decisional balance, like what are the pros and the cons to do this, and what would prompt us to spend money on that. I haven't found the answer yet, but I
think we can actually be more effective in other ways that are free, right? With our voice and with our community engagement and with all of these things that we care a lot more about than being one of 300. So I'm all, sign me up for anything and everything to do with it, but to spend the money on it just to put our name on a, kind of put our name on a plaque and say we fought the lawsuit, to me, I don't see the value.
And so, Dr. Lloyd, our districts, our other districts, passing resolutions saying that they are opposed.
Yeah, I think, and this is a great discussion, because I think that's really what it comes down to, is philosophically, fundamentally, where do you stand? And then, do you want to use district resources for that next step? And, I mean, you could argue it successfully, I think, either way. I get it. I mean, I understand that. So some are. I mean, you could get a resolution, and you can do that. It doesn't necessarily help the financial kind of part of things, but I certainly think that there's some, your shows that it's kind of unity. You think that that piece of legislation stinks. I mean, the board could, anything that might be proposed down there, if you want to take a stance on those things and say, we're not for this at all. We think this is bad policy and it's going to impact our community in a negative way. You could pass a resolution. I think it's a good initial step in starting to take some advocacy for public school and say, we think this stinks, and stick with the adequacy and equity part that we're already involved with. Makes sense.
So is there language that...
I agree with the resolution, and I appreciate the discussion around thinking about the financial piece differently than our stance on the bill itself, and I agree with that. So I'm in full support of a resolution to say that we disagree with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much there in Columbus right now. I mean, there's other bills too, and so, right? This is a first step, I think, for us to, not really, I mean, again, we have come out, we have passed resolutions before, not so much against a bill, a proposed piece of legislation, but in general, what's been happening. And so this would be a first step to that. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on right now that is proposed, and we should keep an eye on it, because there's a lot that is just completely against public education and education in general, right? So, great.
Is there a place that we could, a resource for like even language?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I could get those
So in the past, Dr. Lloyd has helped us, here's some proposed language, yeah.
There's kind of like a template for those sorts of things, and we would, I'd get that, I'd pass it off to you guys to take a look at that, to make certain that all of you are comfortable with whatever, is in there, and I think it's a good first step for you guys to advocate for. So I think that's really cool.
Okay, So, yeah, let's do that.
I get on.
All right.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Is there any other discussion from the board? Okay, if not, then we'll adjourn our meeting at 8:26. I'll accept a motion from the board.
So moved.
Second.
I think she got it.
Photo finish.
Go to the tape.
When you're ready, Mr. Robson, you can call the roll.
You guys are way too fast for me tonight. Dr. DeMarco.
Yes.
Mr. Eckenrode.
Yes.
Mrs. Tomasz.
Yes.
Mrs. Walker.
Yes.
And Mrs. Newman.
Yes, thank you, everyone, for being here. Have a good evening. May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you.